Someone goes through a painful breakup, and within weeks they're in a new relationship. It seems too fast. But maybe it's not that simple. Why do some people move on so quickly after a split?
Why do people jump into new relationships after a breakup?
Bro, okay, like think about it. You just lost the person you were texting at midnight, the person you were doing like everything with, and now there's just nothing. That's a horrible feeling, dude. So then someone new shows up and they're flirting with you and it's exciting and your whole body's like, yes, finally, this is awesome. Like attention, novelty, someone actually wanting you around, that's an instant mood shift, totally. It genuinely feels like, okay, I'm fine, I'm over it, look at me go. But here's the thing, and not gonna lie, I don't always love admitting this, but the high doesn't last. Like, novelty fades, the newness wears off, and then all that stuff you didn't actually deal with, it's still just sitting there waiting for you. So sometimes jumping in fast is less about actually liking someone and more about, like, using them as a painkiller, you know?
Why do people jump into new relationships after a breakup?
Mate, the body doesn't like being on its own. That's just the way it's wired. When you're with someone, they regulate you. Touch, closeness, even just having someone nearby, it calms the whole system down. Take that away, and the body goes into a kind of low-level panic. Not dramatic, like just unsettled, on edge. And so it starts looking for a way to get that calm back. That's not a choice, little buddy. That's just what the body does. Now, here's the other thing. After a breakup, the brain gets more sensitive to signals of connection. So when someone new shows a bit of interest, it hits harder than it normally would. Chemistry feels urgent, intense, like it must mean something. And yeah, sometimes it does. But sometimes it's just the body trying to stabilize itself. What looks like being swept off your feet is really just a nervous system trying to settle down, mate.
Okay, so, being alone after a breakup, that's genuinely scary, right? Like, it's not just sad, it's uncertain. And uncertainty is, a lot. Because suddenly you're thinking, okay, what do I do now? Who am I without this person? Was I even the problem in all of this? And those questions are, I don't know, they're really uncomfortable to sit with. So I think a lot of people jump into something new just to not have to go there. Because if someone new already wants you, then you don't have to feel abandoned. You don't have to feel like you lost. It sort of patches over that free fall period where everything just kind of surfaces at once. And yeah, there's also the practical stuff, like being alone can feel exposed in ways that are hard to explain. Financially, socially, just, yeah. A new relationship makes it feel safer even if nothing has actually been resolved yet, which is, I don't know, that part worries me a bit.
Why do people jump into new relationships after a breakup?
Look, a breakup is a hit to the record. Nobody wants that. You were a pair, now you're not, and people notice. So what's the fastest way to get back on top? Someone new. Simple. You're still desirable. You didn't lose. You moved on. And these days, it's very public, champ. It goes online. People see it. That matters. But here's the problem. Now that relationship is carrying a job. It's not just a relationship, it's image repair. And when you're picking someone to fix how you look, you're not picking based on compatibility. You're picking based on optics, status, who makes the best statement. That's a shaky foundation. The validation patches the confidence short term, but it doesn't hold, because the second that new person stops delivering the win, the whole thing falls apart. Real strength doesn't need that kind of proof. But not everyone knows that yet.
Oh, sweetheart, I think what people miss most isn't always the person, it's the we. The little everyday things. Having someone to text when something funny happens, someone to sit with over dinner, someone to plan the weekend around. When that's gone, there's just this quiet in the day that feels really hard to fill. And then there's the world around you, dear. Friends are pairing off, family are asking questions, weddings keep coming up. Being single starts to feel like you're somehow out of step with everyone else. So when someone new comes along who's warm and available and genuinely interested, it can feel like coming home again. The loneliness lifts, you're part of something again. And honestly, a lot of it just comes down to who happens to be around at the right moment. Who's in your orbit, who's available, which spaces make it easy to connect. Timing and proximity matter so much more than we tend to admit.
Why do people jump into new relationships after a breakup?
My child, loss creates a hollow place, and hollow places call out to be filled. That is not weakness. That is simply what it is to be human. The body wants calm. The heart wants to belong somewhere again. The self wants to know it is still worthy of being chosen. A new face can answer all of those things at once, quickly, warmly, without asking too much in return. Sometimes that leads to something real. Sometimes the connection grows into something that genuinely belongs. But other times, the new relationship is not really about the other person at all. It is about not having to stand in the quiet long enough to hear what the loss is trying to say. The ones who move quickly are not always running away, and the ones who wait are not always healing. What matters is whether the choice comes from knowing yourself or from not wanting to. A heart in a hurry to feel better is not broken, it is simply doing what hearts have always done.
If you made it this far, you're gonna want to see what comes next. Hit subscribe so you don't miss our next video, and click the video on screen now to keep learning more. See you in the next video.